Welcome back to the community, everybody, and thank you for being part of it. I appreciate y'all being here. Today, we are going to go ahead and do the firewall. I brought that up last week because I'm going to clean it all, give it a scuffing, and hit it with rust bullet. And I'm going to go ahead and, while that's drying, pull the front beam off and chase the threads in there. So I figure, follow me along. I know a lot of you, surprisingly, even during our club meetings, I call them, every weekend now when we chat, have said, show stuff, I want to see all what you're doing. That made me happy because there's some things I don't show because I feel you would be bored. Apparently, answer not, and you want to follow along on the journey, and that's a great thing. I really appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get started and get this done, because next week we're going to start assembling the beam and doing things like that. I'm trying to work my way from the front to the back, so if that makes any sense. But I'm going to show you a couple things real quick. Keep you up to date on what I'm doing. As you know, we did that video on doing the wood walls for free and got more done. It's starting to look good. Let me back up. I like it. I really do. And as you can see, I got more wood there. I got more wood there. I just need to get on it. But I think it's going to make a nice background. I got to do this whole wall, of course, and clean everything up, but I think it's going to make a nice background for the Slade garage, or whatever you want to call it. Wish they had a little room for when people come over. I have a stool there and a stool there, but wish they had more room so I could have a little get-together here once in a while, but I guess I'll get that figured out. Who bought me a mini fridge for the garage? I had some used wood. I got to paint it brown now, but I made a little quick bench up to put it on. Very nice. It actually holds a lot. All kind of fun stuff in here. But everything's nice and cold, and I don't have to run clear down the house. And I wanted to thank my son and daughter who bought me a mini fridge for the garage. I had some used wood. I got to paint it brown now, but I made a little quick bench up to put it on. Very nice. It actually holds a lot. All kind of fun stuff in here. But everything's nice and cold, and I don't have to run clear down the house. I gotta go down the yard all the way. My house is about 75 feet away, so it was nice to have a fridge. Thank you. I so appreciate it. Okay, one thing I am going to have to do is remove this master cylinder. I don't have brake lines on it, obviously, but I'm going to go ahead and remove the master. I'm going to put a light coating, a couple rags across here, so I don't just put a bunch on here again. I don't want to peel them because it's not prepped and sanded to grab another coat to the rust bullet, if that makes sense. But we're going to go ahead, pull the master real quick, and we're going to clean all this area up in here. And then we're going to go ahead and rust bullet that. We're going to switch the jack stands to a different area. We're going to pull the front beam, and we're going to run the tap through the threads. I'll show you how to do it and use cutting oil to clean up them threads. We'll go over that in a second. Before we get started, I forgot about something. I seen like 4 different people in a couple of comments not long ago saying, can you ever show what tools you keep on hand? If you guys want to see that, just leave it in the comments below, and I can do a video on what tools I keep in my garage, what I have on hand, stuff like that. So if you just want to see it, I'll film it. Just let me know, and we'll slip that in as an extra video or something. Okay, messing around. We are inside the car. We're going to go ahead. You have 2 13mm bolts, okay? Now, obviously, you don't have to remove your master when you're doing this. I'm just doing it to get it out of the way. I only hooked all of this up so I could do a video on the pedal assembly and a master cylinder install. I do things in a certain order for camera angles, but you guys have already known that from me talking about it. So let's go ahead and get, let down a little, the master out of the way. Probably should have a swivel on this, but it's reaching. I keep all the threads extremely clean, so I can just unthread by hand. Remember, if them spacers fall down, don't forget to get them. Don't do it without them. You see here, in your way, probably. Oh, there we go. Maybe that's a little better. Okay, just felt it fall loose. Okay, let's go out there. Okay, nothing tricky. I'm just gonna pull this off of here. And as you can see, the rod is still connected to the pedals. All right, but you're not gonna be pulling your master cylinder. I just wanted to get mine out of the way. So there's the nice new clean master, and it won't stay that way. I should clear coat that, keep it protected, but we'll see. What I'm going to do first is get some of the heavy stuff off with the hammer and putty knife, just a heavy undercoating. I'm not removing all of it because I would be here forever, and I'm just looking for protection, not a show car. So I hope that makes sense. You can go to any level you want. You can wire wheel this and get it down to bare metal or sandblast it, and you'd be good to go. But I don't feel the need to do that with what I'm doing on this project. But I do want to get the loose stuff off, although it looks like the stuff's on there pretty good. But I want to protect at the same time, because you got some mild rust there. I'm going to go over it with the drill. Let's see, here's some loose stuff. Maybe that is all. I thought there'd be more loose stuff floating around. Yeah, there's not. Okay, let me get the drill and a wire wheel. We'll do it that way. I'm going to go ahead and run a wire wheel across here. I'm going to hit this just for the heck of it. I'm not doing this up here right now, but I might as well hit it while the drill's out. So I'll go ahead, get some wire wheeling done, and I'll silence the film and put some music to it. So give me a couple minutes, I'll speed it up. Okay, so you have the idea of what I did. I wire wheeled and got the heavy stuff off. If you want, go ahead and have this sandblasted or rip it down to bare metal with stripper or whatever. I don't feel the need to with the daily driver. But I am going to cover it with rust bullet because I want protection for a long time. So I'll go ahead and pause the film. I'll finish wire wheeling this and cleaning it up, and then I'll come back when we're putting the rust bullet on. And then we're going to pull the front beam and chase the threads, and I'll explain a lot why to that procedure. So we'll go ahead and get everything cleaned up here and get it ready. I'll be right back. So I went ahead and I cleaned everything up, okay? And I mean, it don't look it, but I wire wheeled it, got all the loose stuff off. Remember, with rust bullet, you can paint right over rust. That's not what I'm doing up here. But I clean all the stuff off anyhow, but you should remove the flaky stuff or anything loose. So what I'm going to do is, you're supposed to use a metal prep that they give you with it. I'll show you it. It's called Metal Blast, okay? You're supposed to wipe off any bare metal, which I don't have. I'm going to use this awesome and go ahead and pretend that it works. Try it again. There we go. I'm going to wipe it off with some awesome. Now, I'm not telling you to, but that's what I'm doing. And I found out you're supposed to mix this stuff with water. I use it full strength. I had no idea. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down, get the crumb bums off, you know what I mean? Not even just loose stuff, just dirt. But we did go ahead and clean everything up. So that's the main thing. I meant to say wire wheel. But, you know, I'm going to go over something important that my rep got a hold of me with the rust bullet and said. I'll go over that in a second while I'm mixing the paint. Okay, so I went ahead and I wiped everything off with that awesome that I use. Like I said, use the metal prep if you've ground down the bare metal. That conditions the metal. I'm not a scientist. I don't know how to explain it. Just do it. Okay, let me blow this off. Okay. Always blow everything off when you're done because you don't need contaminants or dirt there. So, and I do apologize again. I know the last film and this film's not as interesting, but I'm trying to show you everything I do along the way because quite a few of you had left that in the comments. How about an update? What's going on? Can you keep filming what you're doing? So that's what I'm doing. Let's go over to the bench and mix up the rust bullet. And I'm going to tell you a couple things that I said last time that my sponsor for the rust bullet had corrected me on. So we have the Duragrade rust bullet, okay? My sponsor, Allison, when the live was on last time, rust bulleting the floor pans underneath, okay? I had made the comment and said rust bullet can be used as a primer and then you can scuff and paint over it. I was right, but I was wrong about the Duragrade level, okay? This is the message that I got from her. I was giving you a few seconds to read that. There's automotive Duragrade, and I think it was the industrial, that you can paint over. The Duragrade, you put it on and you're done. That's it. There ain't no painting over this stuff. So no big deal. I wanted to correct that. In the last video, I put it in the topics anyhow I pinned it in the comments. So let's go ahead and open this up. I still have some in this can. We'll give it a little mix. We'll brush it on there, and we're going to remove the front beam, clean the front of the frame head where the 4 bolts are, and go ahead and paint the front of that beam. And I want to make sure you follow a couple important tips so that you don't have a problem remounting your front beam after using this. I'll explain when I do it. Now remember with this stuff, okay, this is not a joke. This takes like 10 days to come off of your skin to wear off. Don't be using acetone or thinner, mineral spirits on your skin to remove stuff. You end up with cancer, okay? So wear long sleeves, gloves, and protection. I'm not saying the stuff's poison, but it's not fun to get off. So I still have a half a quart here, and that's pretty good because I did the whole underneath of the car and I did the frame head. Now I'm going to do the firewall. So, and like I said, you can get this in different colors. I think she offered me like gray metallic, or I really don't remember. It's been a while. But you can look online under Rust Bullet and find out. But you can actually get this in other colors. I just choose black because, you know, it's just my preference. Okay. So let's take this over to the car. Excuse me, and we'll get going on it. Well, come on. To try to not get in front of you, I was going to cover this, but I'm not. I'll just wipe it off when I'm done. No big deal. I always use these cheap brushes because then I just throw them out when I'm done. Ooh, is that looking look good? I think I'm going to double coat this. I'll let it tack up for about an hour. This paintbrush is too big for the can. And then I'll go ahead and double coat. But I just want it to all look good. Keep it from rusting. I mean, if I was putting this in car shows, got to get up inside this channel, then that'd be one thing. I would use the... That was weird. The SWAT truck just drove by looking around. Anyhow, I would use the automotive Duragrade then. I'm sorry. I would use the automotive rust bullet then and paint over top of it and make it look real pretty. But I don't need to do that, so it's not a big deal. She's going to be a driver, not a car show thing. Which, I don't know. I think the car will look good when it's done. Hopefully I'm not in front of you. Let me reposition this here. it's hard sometimes not to get in the way. So hopefully I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and speed this part up because I have stuff to say about using it, but it's going to be on the front beam section that I talk about it. So I'll go ahead and speed the film up. Hang tight. What I did do down here is I put a rag. Can you see that? Yeah. I put a rag in there so that it doesn't get inside on the stem from the master cylinder. Okay. All right, let me speed it back up. Okay, I'm going to let that tack up now a little bit, okay? Drying time is 2 to 4 hours. I still have another little under 2 hours to put a second coat on that, which I'm going to do. If you wait longer than 2 hours, then you got to scuff it down. I think it's with 150 grit wet. I can't remember. You'll have to look it up and hit a second coat. But I'm going to do that before it dries. Let's pull the front beam off real quick, and we're going to go ahead and do the front of the front beam where it's at. Ooh, that was a mix-up of words. Let's go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and remove the jack stands from under the beam. And we'll go ahead and relocate them. The floor looks good under there. Nice and clean. And I bet you my jack's not going to reach without a block of wood. Probably not. Why? All right. Oh. Let me see if this will reach now. It should. Oh. Okay. I guess this is. I need taller jack stands because I can't fit the wood back there. I don't think I can. Well, that should work. I think I like the films better where you can actually see what I'm doing. But I guess nothing's perfect. Lower this down. Oh. Always be very cautious working with jacks and jack stands. I think you all know that. Okay, let's go over some things and get this beam out of the way. Okay, now normally these beams are going to be really heavy, but as you can see, there's no control arms, no springs, nothing in here. You have 4 19mm bolts in the front, and of course the 2 on the top are already out of mine. You should put a jack under here and lower it, but I'm going to just do it manually. I'm sure it'll fall. No doubt, because that's what happens. Because I want to do the front of the frame head, but we're going to put the bolts back in the threads because you do not want rust bullet inside them threads. That would not be very much fun. There's 1 bolt, 2. I don't even know if I'm in your way. I hope not. 3. And if you need to know how to take front beam off, I have a video on that. Okay. There we go. I mean, they're not exactly light, but they're not terrible heavy when they're naked. Well, not naked. Ooh. Like scratching your fingers down a chalkboard, huh? There's the gasket to the opening of the tunnel. Let me bring you in a little closer here. So you can see, I want to wire wheel, clean that up, and then rust bullet it. But I'm going to show you before you put the rust bullet on something very important you need to do. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm going to wire wheel that real quick, clean it up, and get it ready so you're not stuck watching me do that again. And before I rust bullet, I'm going to show you exactly what to do or you're going to run into a problem. Okay? Be right back. Alright, so I went ahead and wire wheeled the front of the frame head up, cleaned it real nice, wiped it off with Awesome because I have no bare metal, and blew it off with an air gun. Bolts. Why do I have bolts in there? I have 4 19mm headed bolts. They're actually 12 by 1.5 millimeter if anyone needs to know the thread pitch on the big ones there. And I have my little bolts in my inspection plate cover, or whatever you want to call it. Keep the bolts in the threads. After you do your rust bullet, actually pull them out as soon as you're done. And then clean the bolts up. They'll clean up real easy, you know, the threads on a wire wheel, because you don't want rust bullet getting on the threads inside the frame head or you're not going to have a fun time. So make sure to do that. Let me get a paintbrush and slap it on there. Time to paint it. Hopefully I stay out of your way. Like I said, as soon as you are done, pull these bolts all off and clean up the threads on them. Now honestly, I'm going to take a tap. I got a cheap set at Harbor Freight. And I'm going to go ahead and chase the threads is what I call it. So I hope that makes sense. Because you want the threads nice and clean. The quickest way to cross thread something is to use an old bolt over without cleaning the threads first. And put them through some, I'm trying to think while I'm working here. And put them in some dirty threads. You'll be sure to cross thread one eventually. So always make sure you clean your threads up real nice and run a tap through. Clean them up. Find out the proper size. Don't be cutting new threads, you know. But clean them up real good and you'll be golden. I know some people like to use anti-seize on certain things, but I use it a lot, but I don't use it on the front beam. I don't want that coming loose for any reason. That would be catastrophic. Now, am I going to do 2 coats on this? Yes. I'll let it tack up and do another coat on it. So while that's tacking up, since the firewall's tacky, now I just touched it, good thing I had a glove on, we're going to go ahead and put the second coat on the firewall. Okay, it looks pretty good. Let's go up top and hit that second coat on.
Trying to not get in your way.
The second coat's going to brush on really fast. Obviously, it's just like if you're painting a room in your house. After you get the first coat on, then, you know, it's kind of smooth after that. I really like this stuff. I do. Want me to sing? I guess I won't do that. Okay. Alright, let me speed the film up. So, I went ahead and I did my second coat on the front of the frame head. I let it tack up just a little wee. Went ahead and I put my second coat on the frame head. and it's tacked up lightly. Now it's time to take the bolts out. And we're going to do something together at the workbench after we get them out. Okay. Don't be messing around the thread area. Let everything dry and get firm and uniform. Like I said, you do not want rust bullet on the threads. I'm not saying you won't be able to clean it up with a tap, but why make it hard on yourself? You know what I mean? Let me get this last little one out here. I don't even know if you can see what I'm doing. A tight area. Okay, so the thread holes stayed clean. I am going to run a 12 millimeter by 1.5 millimeter tap through, but I won't do that until I'm putting the dune beam on next week. And of course you'll be here with me doing it, but then I'm going to run a tap through and we'll do it together with some cutting oil. And you can get a cheap tap set at Harbor Freight or wherever you prefer. Home Depot, Lowe's, wherever, Amazon. And we're going to chase the threads on all 6 holes. And they'll be nice and clean, right? Okay, let's go over to the workbench. As I've said many times, buy yourself a benchtop grinder with the wire wheel attachment. Well, I shouldn't say attachment. You can put on each side what you want, a buffing pad. I've used this thing forever. Okay, so you can see there's rust bullet on it. So let's get it off now. And you can see how clean they come. I just put that on there from my thumb. That's how you want your threads, nice and smooth. You can buy new bolts. They sell them, but I just use the old German stuff over. I'm going to finish cleaning these up and I'm going to close out the film and talk to you about a couple things that's important, of course, and where to be tomorrow night. Well, that was an awkward video, week number 2. Sorry about that. I really mean it. I try to get the best angles I can, and I'm trying to bring Yince along, I need a haircut, on this whole project with me. Sometimes it's tough with angles, you know. We'll see what we're doing next week. I have like 30 videos lined up mentally that I need to do. I'm trying to figure out which order to do them in. Here's some good news. With the rust bullet, I have a quart I didn't open yet, okay? And I have a half quart left. I did the frame head. I did the front of the frame head. I did the firewall. And I did the floor pans. This stuff is so thick it goes really far. It's like buying an expensive paint for your house, you know. But we got that all done. We got our bolts cleaned up. And remember, no matter where you're putting this stuff on, don't be shoving it in a threaded hole, because then you're going to have an issue, you know what I mean? But we're going to go ahead and mount the new front beam soon, and we will definitely chase the threads, clean them up. Always want to do that. You'll notice me doing that through this restoration, cleaning threads up before we put the bolts in. Thanks for being here. See you tomorrow night. The chat this week, the club meeting, is Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time instead of Saturday. I hope everybody had a great day. Bam!